Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be test stitching, or I'm going to be showing you how I test stitched this design. This design, paw design, I bought off Etsy and I added my dog's name into the design using Embroidery Essentials, and I, for some reason, no idea why, purchased a grey heather t-shirt on my last wholesale order because grey's not a colour I would normally wear. But I thought, as this is the first time I've stitched out a design, I would stitch it onto the grey t-shirt in case I messed it up. But I love how it's turned out. I will definitely be stitching it out again onto other colour t-shirts and even sweatshirts for, you know, the autumn and winter. Anyway, if you want to watch how I stitched it out and how I hooped it, keep watching. Okay, so I just want to show you what I've done so far. I've printed off my design and I've changed all the colours in the stitch out to the colours that I'm going to use, and I've got them all out here. Then I cut a piece of fusible cutaway stabiliser, which I've ironed onto the back where the design is going to go. And I used the printout, which I'll show you in a minute, to mark the centre vertical and horizontal line. So this is fused on with my heat press onto the inside of the t-shirt. And when I turn this inside out, you'll see there is my design on the front. So the next thing I did was I hooped a piece of cutaway stabilizer. So I'm using two layers. I'm using a cutaway in the hoop and I'm using a fusible tearaway on the back of the t-shirt, and I'm hoping that 2 layers will be enough. Then again, using a ruler, I've drawn a vertical and horizontal center line. I've also halved this section and put a line there and just made a circle. My thinking is that I'm going to try and do this design just in the top half of the stabilizer, then that way I've got all this other stabilizer that I can use at a later date. So what I need to do now is float the t-shirt on the hoop by lining up the crosshairs on my printout with these crosshairs on the stabilizer. I have shown how to do this in a previous video, but basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some spray adhesive on here, and then I'm going to slide this into my t-shirt and line up the lines that are on the stabilizer with these lines here. Then I can peel all the t-shirt back just to expose the inner part of the t-shirt, and then I can put it in the machine and start to stitch it. So I'll do that and I'll be back in a minute. So I've got the hoop now inside the t-shirt, and these vertical and horizontal lines line up with the vertical and horizontal line that I drew on my hoop. I decided not to try and position it in the top half. It's actually in the middle of the hoop. So I can feel the notches here on the middle of the hoop, and that's where my line is lining up to. And then this one is lining up here. I sprayed the stabilizer that's in the hoop to hold this all in place. So what I need to do now is lift up the t-shirt all the way around this hoop so I don't stitch front to the back. And then this is going to be floated, and this is going to hopefully stitch out. I'm just going to apply a bit more of adhesive here because as I say, I moved it down to go with the centre line rather than the extra line that I've drawn in up there. So I'm just going to add a bit more spray adhesive on the back of that fusible cutaway, which will enable to keep this hopefully fully adhered in place. So what I'm going to do now, before I go any further, I'm going to put a fresh bobbin into my machine, and then I'm going to load up this design using the centre on my printout. I'm going to centre this design on the screen over this design, and then I'll be ready to start stitching it out. And I've started using the pre-wound bobbins on my V5, and I got these off Amazon, and I think they're linked in my Amazon shop. So I'm going to put this now into the machine, call up the design and see which of my threads I need to load in first. And this is I think this is called Dark Heather t-shirt. Okay, so hopefully you can see I've got the t-shirt now and the hoop all in the machine. I'm going to go to Embroidery. I'm going to go to my USB stick because that's where my design is. I'm going to go into the folder where I've put this design, and I'm going to say embroider, and that's going to drop it in the middle of the hoop. I don't know how well you'll see, but the needle is slightly off from the center. So using these arrows on my machine, I'm going to move it over until I can see the needle over that line, and I'm going to move it up until I can see the needle over the center of my snowman. And then what I can do is just bring the needle down, and it looks as though it's going to drop directly in the middle. So now it's ready for stitching. The screen is showing me that the first step is all the green. So I'm going to load up my machine with my green. So I'm going to press the needle threader, and now I know everything is in place, I can remove my printable. And then if I want to use this again, I've got the printout to be able to do that. Hopefully I've got everything out of the way, and hopefully I'm not going to stitch the back to the front. So I'm going to put the foot down. If you can hear Eddie in the background, he's grumbling at any little noise he can hear, as usual, of somebody going up and down the lane. Okay, so this says it's a 31-minute stitch out. I've no idea because this is the first time I'm stitching it. So I'm just going to press start, but I am going to watch it because obviously I don't want any of the rest of this t-shirt falling into the middle and getting caught up. I may speed up all this process now because there are several colour changes, as you saw in the diagram. And this is only a heavy cotton blend t-shirt, so I'm not using any water soluble topper on it. Hopefully when it's done I'll show it you at the end, but as I say, I may just speed this up and put some music on. Okay, so as you can see, that's finished. I'm going to take the hoop out of the machine, just go over to my other desk, tidy up some of the remaining jump stitches. You may or may not have seen me cutting some as it was stitching along. And then I just need to take the backing off it and tidy it up, and it's done, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so hopefully you'll see this. So as I say, I was initially going to try and stitch it in the top half of the stabilizer, but once I started hooping it, I decided to just, you know, forgo the waist. If you've seen a previous video, I keep all my waist strips anyway, and I sew them together and make bigger pieces out of them. So I'm just going to tear this one away, because this one is tear away. And those I will keep in my waste pile, and I'll sew them together at some point. And then I'm just going to rip away as much of the tear away as I can. Tidy up all the jump stitches, and this one that you can see here now is the fusible stabilizer I put actually onto the back of the t-shirt. So as I say, if you didn't catch what I said at the beginning, I ironed a fusible cutaway onto the actual back of the t-shirt, and then I hooped a tear away, so I've got like 2 layers. And because this t-shirt is just a heavy cotton blend, I didn't use any water soluble topper. So I'll just carry on clipping all these jump stitches and tidy this up. I'll get my lint roller on it, and then I'll be back in a minute. The amount of stabilizer that you take off is entirely up to you. You don't have to get it all out. The tear away will actually eventually start to break down in the wash, but I generally like to get, you know, quite a bit of it out. And at this point, what you can do, you could iron like a gentle touch over the top so that it's not rubbing against your skin, but I don't find it a problem, to be honest. But because I have had adhesive in my hoop, I am just using my anti-static powder just to take away any of the stickiness. I'm going to flip this right side out, just cut the last of the jump stitches. I was trying to cut them as it went along. I don't like when there's big jump stitches and then the stitches start going over it, so I was, you know, trying to get most of them out as I go. It just makes obviously tidying up at the end a little bit quicker as well. And I'm just using my small curved scissors for this. I'll probably still find some that I've missed even after I've finished. Just take my lint roller, and the design called for 2 different shades of this yellowy gold, but I just used the same colour twice. There you go. So I think that'll do for now. No doubt I'll, you know, spot some more little jump threads as I go along. But I think that turned out really good. I've no idea whatever possessed me to buy a dark heather t-shirt, because it's not a colour I would normally wear. You know, I think this turned out nice. And basically what I did, I took my colour inspiration from the printout and I added the name in Brilliance Essentials. So this design itself fits into a 4x4 hoop, and depending on how big you want your name, you can probably still get it in a 4x4 hoop, but mine was ever so slightly just outside, so a 5x7 hoop would have been better, but I don't have one, so I just went up to my 8x12 hoop. So I added the name. I chose, you know, one of the colours from the palette to add the name in Brilliance Essentials. Printed my design out. My machine is a V5LE combined embroidery sewing machine. It doesn't have the snowman feature, but I prefer to print my designs with the snowman because I find the middle target point is easier to see than just using the dashed cross hatches. And this is a feature that's in Brilliance Essentials. So you just go into your properties, I think it's under hoop, and there's a little icon that says include snowman or turn snowman on, and then when you print your designs out, it will print with the crosshairs like it always has done, but it will add the snowman into the middle. And I just find this a bigger target area to see, if you like, for lining up my design. And then from the second printout, these were all the colours that it recommended from this design, and I just went through and I chose, you know, greens and 2 shades of pink and white. As I say, they're using what's called Harvest Gold and Pumpkin, but I made them both the same, my kind of goldy yellow. And then I just you know, found a lavender. I used a deep lavender rather than a pale lavender, and you know, the green and the pink are repeated. So that's how I did that design. So I hope you like that. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.